That's a good question. I don't know that there's any data that suggests that a sea star, that there's a finite number that a sea star can regenerate its arms. Under ideal conditions, I don't see that there would be any reason why they couldn't regrow their arms, an uncounted number of times. It is very clear, however, from experiments that regeneration costs the animal in terms of its overall energy budget and so forth. So it's not something that is done casually. And it also depends on the species, because some species of sea star, there's a group in the tropical shallow water habitats, for example, called the Ophidiastridae. These sea stars can regenerate asexually. They actually can sometimes break apart and regenerate just casually. There's little sea stars that live in your aquarium called asterinids that can literally pull themselves apart and become two sea stars. But like, for example, one of the sea stars that you would see in this habitat in the deep sea, arm damage might take them months to years to recuperate. And so that might not be something that is done regularly, or, perhaps happens only once in the lifespan of that individual. So it really does depend.
Let me interrupt you there for a second, Chris, because we're looking at this interesting crab we've seen a few times now. So this is a hermit crab, and on its back is a zoanthid colony. A zoanthid is another kind of cnidarian, closely related to anemones, and sometimes they're called colonial anemones. And what we could see there were, I think it's off my screen now, 5 or 6 individual polyps, all connected to a common matrix that were replacing the shell for that crab. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. A friend of mine, actually, who works on anomiran crabs, tells me that a majority of the hermit crabs in the deeps can be assigned to the genus Parapagus. So, Chris Boyko, I'm going to quote you here, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I was done with my little thing on sea star regeneration, so thank you for giving me the time. I appreciate it. So I'll hand it back to you. I guess so with Stephanie and
see that surface current down here.
Cheryl.
Yeah, I think Cheryl might be gone, but thank you, Chris. That was a great answer. And we're looking now at another I'm going to use the name now also, Parapagus, and it has a zoanthid colony on the back. So this one, time to describe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 6 of the zooids. These are basically polyps, the same sort of thing that we're seeing on all the corals, if you've been on past dives. And you see each of the polyps has a ring of tentacles and it would have a mouth. So basically the idea is that zoanthid could grow in size as the crab is growing, and so constantly give it a space in which to live.
Where is it coming from?
The zoanthid is also benefiting because the crab is moving it around and stirring up sediments, and so it may be getting material that is being stirred up by the crab, or maybe even when the crab is feeding, it can grab some of the particulates that are being shed.
Looks like there's seaweed in front of that burrow. Hey, Scott, maybe I missed you saying it, but is there a shell under the zoanthids, or just the zoanthids and the hermit crab?
Another one.
Is it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Stephanie. So I'm not entirely certain. I do know that there is a group of anemones that does secrete a shell. The shell is basically a protein type of shell. So it is being secreted by the pedal foot of the anemone. And I presume that there is something similar for the zoanthids, but I don't actually know that.
Good copy, Bridge. Thank you for the update. Pilots, we are back to port with the current.
Copy that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nav.
I think this is a tube anemone. Oh, it doesn't look like a typical ceranthid. Is it?
Not a tube anemone, just a regular anemone.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Whereas the mouth is a little tube anemone, tentacles around that. So this is actiniarian. And it's a nice comparison to what we were just seeing with the zoanthids. So this is a single polyp, whereas on the back of that crab was 5 or 6 polyps all joined together. So they're all members of the Hexacoralia in different orders.
Would you like another move where you're looking at him at 27?
Did that move just
You guys see the solitary
yes.
hydroids above it?
We'll wait till he's out of there.
Yeah, some amphipods climbing around there. Actually, there's a number of amphipods climbing around on those hydroids behind the anemone.
Yeah, this, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure they're solitary, but they're definitely hydroids, probably the family Tubulariidae. You can see kind of the pinkish, I'll call it the body surrounded by tentacles, and then they go into these long tubes. And it may be that they're connected within the tubes to each other. This is a family that's also fairly common in shallow water, so if you go to a pier piling or something and pull up masses of stuff that's growing on the pier on the ropes, you often find these, although much smaller than I think we're looking at here.
Yeah, and I see at least 3 pinkish amphipods climbing around on them, on the hydroids.
Are those possibly some antennae coming out of that whole center screen left?
I can't tell, but it looks like there's something lining the burrow that is behind the hydroids and blade of seagrass. It looks like urchin spines sticking out too. I'm not sure what those are, the dark.
Okay, video's clear.
Alright. Good, come wide.
Lights are clear.
Great job, Pilot.
What time did that last move finish now?
Last move finished at 1903 UTC.
Copy, thank you.
Just another crab. This one's actually flying away from us now. We're crawling away. Video, you want to zoom in on crab? It's a little far. Is that all the zoom we got? Nice.
Video's clear.
Great. Good, come wide.
I'm trying to do some quick research here to see if I can get this question answered about whether the zoanthid is forming a shell. So far, all I have is a potential name there would be Epizoanthus for the genus.
Thanks, Scott.
Are you about ready for that move, Pilot?
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Same. Works for me.
Copy that. 20 meters at 324.
Thank you, Nav.
Bridge, this is ROV Nav. Would like to make another move. Same thing. 20 meters at 324 degrees. Speed 0.2.
Run off screen.
Pilot, this is watch.
Good copy, Bridge.
Watch it, go ahead.
There's something off screen lower right. Can
Copy.
we pan down and check it out?
Yep.
Want to stay left on this object?
Just right of the right laser. I think it's an anemone.
Alright, video. Let's start to come in. Just stay right there as I get a little lower. Alright, you can take more.
Lasers are clear.
Looks like he's just closed.
Oh yeah, this is actually one of those cup corals that we saw earlier that had the crab hidden under the one side.
It does.
I forget what the name of it was, but
Flabellum is the name, and they do have this characteristic appearance of being folded over like this.
Looks like a charcoal.
That's the way I describe it. Kind of the way we've been referring to the Venus flytrap anemones. In this case, the skeleton that it's living on seems somewhat compressed and flattened, kind of like a taco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. What would be the functionality of that for something trying to catch stuff coming by in the water to like fold yourself in half?
I wonder if it has something to do with growing on these sediments, and is a way of preventing the whole oral disc, which is the flattened part where the tentacles ring, maybe from being buried in sediments.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, video, come on. No problem.
So I think we were expecting this slope to be about 20 degrees. Would you guys think
we were expecting it to be about 29 degrees.
Oh, 29, okay.
Currently, I would call that 40 degrees. So I would call it significantly larger than just a 29-degree slope. So depth still match HIPAC, Nav?
Roughly. It says that we should be right around 1210, and we are at 1197, so we're off by like 13 meters.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pilot's watch.
Good watch.
Can we just check out this clump like just left of center?
Yeah, I'll make my way. Alright, video. Here we go for clump. Dropping. Partial video? Yeah, right there is good. Alright, you can come in.
More tilt down.
So it looks like partially seagrass and partially abraded sargassum, maybe, as far as... Anyway. Surface produced and covered in bryozoans.
It's enough that there must be some kind of tubes or something in there. Doesn't seem to be moving very much. but I agree. Doesn't look like there's some seagrass caught up in there. I wonder if there's like hydrozone tubes, maybe, or is it all seagrass? I can't tell as well as you can.
Actually, I think I was incorrect in saying there was seagrass caught in there. Now that we zoomed in, I think it's just part of the blades of sargassum. And then I'm actually, maybe hydroids also, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff overgrowing. Maybe some bryozoan in the front lower right.
Yeah, definitely bryozoans, and then there's some of the tubularia on the upper right, kind of spread around.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the base structure is on the upper right.
But it certainly shows that there are organisms, special organisms, that are desperately searching in this muddy area for something to settle on and grow.
For sure, yeah. And I just wanted to check this out since we've been seeing quite a few of these clumps, and I wanted to see if we could tell, what they were. If they're mostly sargassum based, it looks like this one most likely at least partially so.
All right. Happy with that? Great.
Video swapping out.
Copy that. Thanks, video.
Go ahead, Bridge. Good copy. Thank you. Pilots, I'm assuming by your reaction you overheard that?
Yeah, we got some Jaegers inbound.
Yes, that's correct.
Copy. Hey, watch. It's the one that just kind of did a little shuffle there. Yeah. Alright, video, you want to do a partial zoom on that? The kill lasers, co-pilot.
Looks like the same type of eel pout that we saw before, just more pale. So.
Copy. Are you happy with that?
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Right. Thanks.
Come wide, video. Let's keep moving. Good job, co-pilot. I'm liking the response time.
Rat tail.
It's almost if you were two minds working as one to drive this machine.
You see some animal trails here. Pilot, this is watch.
Yeah, watch.
You see that trying to trail through the sediment on the left there?
Yeah, you want me to follow it?
On the upper part, there's something pale. I just want to check it out, see if we can tell what it's from.
Yeah.
If possible. Thanks.
Video, come on in.
Looks like a gastropod shell. Doesn't really look like it's in the right orientation for being alive. So, skeptical that that's what made that trail. But
yeah, as soon as pilot's ready, you can get a move in there too.
That's good. Thank you.
Good copy. Another 20 meters at 324.
Yeah, as soon as pilot's comfortable. But I'm not moving right now. Pilot, you good?
Yeah, pilot's doing great. How are you?
I'll call another move. Bridges is ROV now. Another move, same thing, 20 meters at 324 degrees, speed 0.2.
I think that was upslope though.
Good copy, Bridge, thanks.
Pilot, can we check out this pale, long, skinny fish on the left?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Copy that. Alright, video coming for fish. Go for head first. Anything specific on the fish you'd like, Washley?
It looked longer than the other eel pods that we just checked out a little bit ago. I can't tell from this angle if it has the kind of pointy face, shovelly face.
I can spin around.
If you can, that would be cool. Thank you.
Video come partial, please.
You know what I mean, right? I'm like, it has a big chin? I don't know. What's that? I don't know fish. Come on.
Alright, video come back in.
Wait, Scott, you see something? Oh, the thing flapping next to the fish? Is that what you're referring to, Scott?
Yeah, there's a little stalk sticking out of the bottom, and I don't know if it's a worm tube or what it is.
Oh, by the bottom of the fish? Or the tail, you mean? Or right there?
Now it's basically just in front under the eye. You see it sort of waving back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell what it is from here either. Do you think, I think this looks like a different type of eel pout than the one we were seeing before. It has like a, Skeletor mouth.
Fish, so I wasn't paying enough attention to the characteristics that Ken Sulak had noted, so I'm not sure that I could identify this species. Well, I know I can identify this species.
Okay, well, I think at this point we've probably gotten a good look that someone can identify it later on, so. Alright, cool.
Good.
Thanks, we're good.
Alright, video come wide.
Yeah, and so as we're moving to find our next thing, I had noted in the chat room here that we're not seeing sea pens. Yesterday we saw, especially on the first 2/3 of the dive, a lot of sea pens. And we had remarked earlier at the start that the bottom looked a little bit different. You had noted yourself that we were seeing very few of the Ophimuseum type brittle stars that we saw really carpeting the bottom yesterday, which suggested there's something fundamentally different about what's going on in the bottom here compared to there. Part of it obviously is depth, but maybe something else. But I'm also wondering, and why I wanted to look at that thing next to the fish, if there may be sea pens and worms and stuff that they're small and their color is such that they're hard to see from a distance. So I'm really glad that you had a close up of that stuff that that tangle that we saw just before. Every once in a while, we should just look to see if there's some small stuff growing.
Yeah, no, all good points. Throughout the dive so far today, we've seen, I think, only one noticeable brittle star, and I haven't seen anything that looked like a sea pen yet.
What's ship status?
Ship is
but yeah, obviously lots of those thread-legged shrimps and different kinds of fish. So yeah, very different, even though the sediment looks the same, similar. Different depths, different slope,
both
different
yesterday
stuff.
And today, sea cucumbers, holothurians, are not common. Yesterday I think we saw a few, but I haven't seen any today, and this is the sort of habitat that I might expect them to be fairly common in, assuming there was enough phytoplankton that's settling from the surface onto the bottom. Mike Vecchione agrees with you in the chat room that that was a different species of eel pout.
Well, I'm glad Mike, the other cephalopod specialist, agrees with me on the fish. I also don't remember if we saw so many hermit crabs with the zoanthids yesterday. I actually wasn't able to watch much of the dive yesterday.
I do think we saw one or two, but not like today. We've seen several.
And then the flabellum, did we see those?
I wonder also, some of the, like when we're seeing tubes or some of the sargassum that's hung up on stuff, I guess it could be hung up on flabellum skeletons.
We're still moving.
So we've seen a couple of those alive, but there may be some of the skeletons that are left behind, and that might be capturing some of this material.
Okay,
they're probably just like finding station.
Drop that.
Hey, Wash.
Bridge, this is ROV now. We'd like to have another ship move when you're done with this one.
Let me drop a little bit.
Excellent. We'd like to go another 20 meters at 324 degrees. Speed is 0.2 knots.
You got a delay, so we're stopping to check that out. Looks like a gastropod to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's cool. We don't see too many gastropods down here, especially ones making trails like this. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was seeing some of these trails earlier, and we checked one of them out, and it had a gastropod shell at the end, but the shell didn't look like it had anything living in it, and it was a different kind of shell than this anyway. So, but yeah, I'm glad we spotted this one to see that at least some of the trails are made by this snail plowing through.
Yeah, this is a fantastic observation. I can count on a hand the number of times I've seen something like this, so it's nice to be able to identify what's making the trails.
Yeah.
I presume that this must be a scavenger or an omnivore just feeding on some of the material in the sediments, unless it's sort of plowing along looking for worms or crustaceans or something in the sediments. I guess that's possible too. One of the things you can see is what we call the mantle, and that's the layer of tissue that is able to secrete the shell, and you can see certainly on the back and the side there, that mantle tissue is surrounding the shell to some degree. Otherwise, you're seeing the muscular foot extending from the back and somewhat in front that allows it to sort of motor over the surface. And I imagine it's leaving a trail of mucus binding the sediments, which is why that trail lasts so long after it passes by.
Yeah, I would assume you're right. In order for it to not get stuck in the sediment, it's got to secrete a coat of mucus to kind of move over it and keep moving. And then leave some behind as well.
Jill Bork thinks this might be a kind of moon snail, which are fairly common. You see moon snails if you do any beach combing, often washed up on the beach. And one of the things is that they have a very smooth shell, and that's because the mantle tissue covers the shell and protects it from when it's moving through the sediments, so it doesn't get all scratched up.
I thought moon snails are pretty predatory. Is that correct?
Yeah, moon snails, the ones that I'm familiar with, will prey on clams that are burrowing clams. So, perhaps this is doing something similar. It's looking for something in the sediments that it can feed on.
Certainly at this point it's going at a snail speed that seems fast for feeding on the sediment, but more of a speed for looking for something to eat.
All right, watch lead. Is that great?
This is high drama for a mud dive.
Video. You happy?
High drama snail, yeah.
Great. All right, coming up.
It's a nice long trail. It's you can follow back. Hey, pilot.
Yes.
Can we look at some of those just dark clumps on the right? Just get some close-up views of what might be on them.
Yeah, copy. Dark clumps.
Thanks. Some more trails, possibly from more of those snails.
All right, video, you want to come in on clump?
Good copy, Bridge. Thank you.
Just as I expected.
All right, sargassum covered in bryozoans. A tube of something on the left.
I'll let Pilot push out before the next one.
I see some of the tubularia.
Yeah, I gotta lay back anyway.
So Scott, earlier you were talking about how we find tubularia in shallow waters. You think these tubularia were growing on the sargassum at the surface and fell down to the seafloor with the sargassum?
No, I think these larger ones are deep sea species that have settled on after this thing got to the bottom. That's my suspicion.
Okay. So
and I say that in part because we've seen the tubularia hydrozoans or hydroids on other deep sea substrates, old coral skeleton, stuff like that are growing in place. I mean, and one of the things that's interesting when I see this, like little patches of sargassum here, you wonder, is this sargassum here because there was a pre-existing depression in the seafloor and it just happened to settle here, or are there some tubes and some worms under there that have caught the sargassum and so it's stuck there? Or did maybe that happened and then because the sargassum is there and the tube is there, any currents moving around or scouring a bit and so creating more of a depression? So basically, what comes first, the depression or the sargassum?
All right, video. Go ahead, come in.
It's the red thing.
Yeah, Scott, that's why I wanted to check some of those clumps out and see if we could tell what they're caught up on. I couldn't tell with that last one. There looked like there was a large, maybe had been from a tube worm.
Okay, pal, you got a little bit here, but then you're
going to
push out.
But I couldn't tell for sure.
You know.
Copy.
So this one is just a regular anemone, correct? I think that's what you were saying on one that looked like this previously.
That is correct, yep. Sea anemone of the order Actiniaria. So it would not have a tube. There are some of the regular sea anemones that are capable of burrowing. So you would call them burrowing anemones, but they wouldn't form the tubes. I'm not saying that this is a burrowing one.
We got a push-out video.
In this case, it looks like possibly there was a pre-existing burrow, not from the anemone, but that the sargassum got stuck in?
Yeah. It's so hard to tell, and it looks so rigid to me. I would think that if it was just sargassum, it might be moving ever so slightly, just from the movement or the bow wave of the ROV itself, and yet I'm not seeing any of that motion.
Yeah.
There's some other kind of tube there as well.
I'm also surprised that nothing is coming along and like eating the sargassum.
Well, I'm sure something is when we're not watching.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of something large and eating it, coming in and eating it rapidly.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that you would expect that represents a pretty big food packet that just settled into the bottom of the deep sea. And in general, the food supply is very low. There isn't a lot of food, so certainly if a dead fish is sunk down here, I'd expect to see lots of amphipods and brittle stars and sea stars and all kinds of stuff rapidly approaching it and devouring it.
Exactly, and the only amphipods that I've seen have been on the tubularia hydroids.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't seen, in fact, rarely do I recall seeing scavenging amphipods in these dives. Not sure why that's the case. A couple of times we have been lucky enough and come across like a fish carcass, and then you do see the sort of scavenging fauna that are associated with it. But I guess the rest of the time they're just kind of hanging out, hiding in the mud, or swimming around in the water column searching for odor plumes.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked on a paper from of squid food falls in the Gulf of California, and we didn't see amphipods. It was mostly lithodid crabs and brittle stars, sea stars. Sorry, yeah, not brittle stars, but sea stars, and then shrimp. Pilot over on the left. We look at. Actually, I think it's rat tail. Never mind.
Keep going.
Sorry, Stephanie.
Yes, please.
You did or you did not see them on the squid falls?
we did not see amphipods on the squid falls.
Oh, wow. Huh, that's interesting.
We saw one rat tail that had a big chunk of flesh in its mouth, and we were not sure that it was squid, but it was not far from when there was a squid fall, and we don't know where else it would get a big chunk of flesh, given that rat tails are mostly scavengers. So our assumption was that it had torn a chunk off the squid that was not far from it.
Gotcha. 55.
When I was a graduate student, my graduate research was on scavenging amphipods in the deep sea, and we used mackerel or cat food as bait. And boy, it was easy.
Yeah, we should be getting to the somewhat of a local flood area. The slope should definitely decrease significantly.
Anything that's good and oily and has a good odor plume coming from it.
You ready for another 20?
Yeah, and I personally think that dead squid have quite a distinct odor, so you would think that would have a good enough odor plume for amphipods, but apparently not in the Gulf of California.
Copy that. Oh, I call it
people who are listening to us, the sort of takeaway message from this is that even though, we may not be seeing a lot of animals during the dive on the mud, there's stuff out there. And if the food is down there, just like you were saying, that sargassum is there, you would expect that there would be a pretty fast response, and they would be aggregated to that food. Looks like something's going on here.
There's a nice polynoid worm, red polynoid worm in the water column.
I wonder if there's a big plate or something that's being buried and we're seeing the edges of it, or...
Yeah, it seems like there must be some structure underneath this fairly large thing, and then this just looks like seagrass and an anemone behind it.
We go down. Yep.
Brittle stars.
What is that?
I wonder if there's buried cable or something there. Looks like something man-made, the black and the far.
Yeah, I was wondering actually if you were seeing the black tubes, and it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't look biological.
Video, come in, zoom all the way, dead center.
It does a little.
Can't tell.
I think that's biological. I don't know.
Alright, I'll keep looking left.
Yeah, I don't know. Initially the black tubes they look man-made possibly, but then if you look on the center of them, they look like it's black material covering some organism.
Yeah, I
can't tell.
Cable sheathing of some sort.
You want me to turn on the fog lights?
Certainly a lot of sargassum getting stuck in this sort of elongated depression. Oh, it looks like
I forget what those are called.
Nice big worm.
You want fog lights?
Terabellid worm? With the long tentacles sticking out from the left.
Video. If he wants it.
Ready?
Fog lights? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's see if it helps you out at all.
Like the spaghetti worm or spaghetti mouth worm. I'm looking at that orange stuff that's kind of in that crack, and I can't tell, is that, underlying sediment, or is there some man-made thing under there that's rusted?
That's rusted. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks like it goes down. I don't know. Hey, pilot and video.
Yeah.
There is a worm. Kind of, it's like the left side of the screen, center of the left side of the screen, so left of this. That makes sense. It's got super long tentacles coming out of a tube.
Yeah.
Can we just get a good look at that?
dead center, pretty much?
Yeah, it is now.
Copy.
Good copy, Bridge. Thank you.
Copy. I can get closer. Do you want to come partial video?
So as we were coming into this whole feature, I got the sense that there's something big and square.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is some man-made debris, and we're looking at the edge of it, and it must be that, or possibly that it's rusted.
Small.
I feel like that's a likely possibility. Because I don't know what else would have like two corners.
I don't know how much
on
closer.
either side that we're seeing.
Really well-defined corner there on the right.
Yeah, and then the fact that it looks like rust, but it seems like it's been here a while to be covered in sediment and then have that much rust built up on it.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I think we're looking at the head end of terra-belled worm. That's a kind of polychaete worm that builds, if not a tube, at least a burrow, but I think they build tubes also. And they live in the burrow or in the tube, and then they extend these really fine tentacles out into the surrounding environment, and they're very sticky, and they can bind up organic particles and carry them back towards the mouth. So they never really have to come out. They can do all their feeding from in there.
Well, you actually can see a large sort of conglomerate of sediment particles and mucus that seems to be bringing up towards the entrance to the tube right now and covering it. I don't know if you
see that.
So that was pretty cool. Also interesting, actually, maybe I mentioned this when we first came upon this, but there's obviously several Bertle stars here when we haven't seen very many Bertle stars today in general. For whatever reason, they're...
Video, you happy here? Or is there anything else you want?
They're happy to be at this potentially man-made but mostly buried structure here.
Good. Right.
Yeah, so whatever this is, it's obviously concentrating some organics. Who knows? Maybe there's some bacteria growing there. So it's attracting these other organisms.
Yeah.
It's like the most concentrated patch of organisms we've seen all dive.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you mean the one down? To the right.
Yeah, this looks like marine debris, the very round thing.
We're not going to have time to stay here long.
Copy. Yeah, video, just take it. Oh, how it's kind of raised. That's what you're saying.
Could be like a chain and like a Danforth anchor at the end of it where it has that sharp edges.
Hey, pilot and nav. I know we gotta go, but can we take a quick zoom in on the red round, just bottom left, and then we can go?
You got 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Copy. All right, video, come on in.
Definitely something man-made and rusting.
Yeah, it's like the handle for the door that's underneath here.
Yeah, something like
Door
that.
To all that treasure we're about to leave behind.
All right, thank you. We're good.
Video.
Like another one of those, possibly flabellum. Oh wait, and maybe a sea pen. Oh, and a squid, and a crab, and all the things at once.
I was going for the crab.
Of course.
Is that okay?
You can pick one, whichever's easiest.
Copy.
Crab, I guess.
Crab caught my attention quicker.
There's some kind of a law that when you have to catch up, that's when you see all the stuff.
Yes, definitely. Scott, is this a Chaseon?
It's coming for you. Watch out.
Or a different kind?
I believe this is a Chaseon, one of the either red crabs or golden crabs.
Yeah.
Oh, they have two common names.
Typical in the deep sea, and I believe there is a commercial fishery for them, at least at some depth.
Okay.
I'm still looking back at you, FYI.
Copy.
That should be coming to a stop soonish.
Alright, video.
You got a little bit of time.
couple seconds.
Looks like the underside of the carapace and the base of the arms is pretty well covered in barnacles.
Yeah, one of the ways you can age them without grasping them or collecting them is how big the barnacles are on the exoskeleton and how discolored the exoskeleton is.
Oh, pilot?
Yeah.
Sorry, if you go back to the right, I think there was a C-pen.
C-pen? Tell me if it comes on view.
Pink, tall, like just right of center.
Copy. We get lasers on real quick, pilot.
So Scott, I think I saw a C-pen right as we were seeing the squid and the crab and the da-da-da. So this is the second one, potentially, but of the dive.
Nice. I think this is quite possibly Anthophyllum, the genus Anthophyllum. You're absolutely right, it is a C-pen. One of the members of the Octocoralia that is adapted for living in soft sediments, and so at the base it has an inflated peduncle instead of a holdfast that is attached to a rock. But otherwise you see that it's made up of a whole series of individual polyps, each of which has its own ring of tentacles and is individually collecting food from the water column, although they're all linked to one another, and so the nutrients are shared among the entire colony. I'm not sure, this one is really different looking. I don't recognize the color of the polyps and the shape, and I would go so far as to say this could be a collectible. This is not like others that we've seen. I don't know what your position is, and timing, and all that, but certainly a suggestion.
Yeah.
Do you want fog lights on it first, or no?
Ship is stopped, right?
Also not sure. It might be really small.
Has been for 7 minutes, so swing.
What was that, Scott? Sorry.
The last part I said is it might be really small, so I don't know.
Oh, I think they had the lasers on before, but I can't remember what.
We'll put them back on.
It's not ridiculously small. It's sort of normal size, I think. Scott, would it...
C-pen size.
Yeah, normal C-pen size. So, Scott, if you don't have any, if you're not sure what this is, I say sure, let's collect it.
Yeah, so part of that is that although I'm becoming much better at C-pens, I'm not an expert on C-pens, so I have to catch up. It takes me a little while to look at all the possibilities. So I'm not even sure if this is one of the C-pens, for example, Stylatula, which we collected several of, although from much shallower in canyons further north of here. And some of those, I think, were the type that could retract into the burrow, so we might be surprised.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you can tell from how you're looking at things, but we're at 1,170 meters.
Do you want to get joylock real quick?
Yeah. Right, yeah. The ones that I'm talking about come from less than 300 meters, so I don't have a reason to believe they're the same.
You're spun up.
We're also seeing several tube actual Cereanthids, I think. See like at least 3 in my view right now. Kind of.
Yep, I agree. To the 1 o'clock and 10 or 11 o'clock, I see at least 2.
Yeah, and then center bottom, I actually see a regular actinarian anemone.
So.
Yeah, so given the fact that this is so small, this is a pilot call. I'm not sure if this is a scoop or grabbing, but like the C-pen we collected yesterday, what would be ideal is grabbing it and plucking it out of the sediment as opposed to cutting it.
Okay, I'll communicate with the pilots and let them decide. Hold on.
Don't see it. Where'd it go?
Yeah, so watch it. They want the base, right? So they don't want it snipped. Yeah, sounds great. You want this? I can do that. All right.
This might be another one of those root structure, dig into the ground type of deals again.
Yeah.
And for your reference, all bio boxes are available.
All right. And Copilot will probably just go
port
starboard.
Okay.
You know?
Nice.
is long.
That is a long root
Whoa.
system. Wow. Nice catch.
That's not what I was expecting, but okay,
nice
cool.
Catch. Tried to get away.
So I think what happened is it may have been trying to retract when the claws closed. So you got it at just the right time. Well done. Some of these sea pens are able to completely withdraw into the burrow.
Doing a quick zoom. Okay, so we want to... Yeah, just like that's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, great.
Wonderful catch. Can I go ahead and pop him out?
Go for... Yep.
Okay, I don't want to go that fast. Can't see if you're going to hit over there.
Yeah, just go slow. I can come up if it pushes us.
I think it's going to... It's digging in, but I don't think it's going to push us. It's real soft.
As long as we don't...
But as far as we can go anyway.
Great. Do you want to come down on Mini Zeus?
Copy that. Coming down.
I'm watching Sirius Copilot.
Yeah, copy that. Thanks, Nav.
Yep.
Right there?
You got it.
That's good.
Alright, release the jaw. Did it fall?
I haven't seen it fall yet. It's still there, almost. Yeah, there it goes.
Great.
Ready for me to capture it?
Yeah.
Let's check out your finger real quick.
It's in there.
Okay, great. I'm going to come up.
Thank you.
Excellent collection, pilot.
That was terrific. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, arms off. You can get your camera back. I didn't realize he was going to retract. That was kind of cool. That's all right. That was fun. Surprises make this more interesting.
He basically said you caught it at the exact right time as it was trying to retract, so.
Just what I was going for.
Gonna have to go back and study the tape on that one and see the action in action.
That could be today's highlight video.
Well, actually, does that have the potential to swim out of the box at all?
Not that I know of.
Maneuver in such like a worm, you know, some worms can kind of float.
I don't know about floating, but they don't swim, and so far as I know, they don't have ability to move.
Can't like spring out and copy. Just want to make sure.
No. Can we check
this?
Was
that a question about the sea pen?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that should stay in the bottom of the box. It's got an internal skeleton, so it should not float, and they certainly don't swim.
Pilot, did you hear
that? Yeah, should stay at bottom of box.
Yeah.
Copy. Is this what you wanted, Watchlight?
Yes.
All right, video, come on in.
Nice footage of a brittle star retracting into a burrow, which presumably was produced by another organism, not the brittle star. But it seems like we're seeing, well, certainly we saw several brittle stars at the whatever that partially buried man-made structure is, but it seems like we're seeing a few more as we move upslope.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I haven't seen a brittle star move into a burrow quite like that, not that fast.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was...
I've definitely seen there are a number of different kinds of brittle stars that will live buried or in burrows and have their arms extended, but I haven't seen that before.
Right, and I'm assuming that was a reaction to, like, the ROV moving in and feeling a bow wave or something like that. I don't know.
All right, happy with that, Washington?
I guess another hypothesis is that there's some kind of lobster crab down there that just pulled it in and is enjoying a meal now.
Could be, especially based on our observations of the crab eating brittle stars yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stand by.
Warehouse, this is ROV nav.
Do you want to do a quick zoom on mine? Serious? Look at that guy. What is that?
Cat shark.
Cool. Alright, you can come wide.
Looks like another brittle star in a burrow.
Copy.
No, sorry, Bridge. I was calling the ROV warehouse. Or workshop, sorry.
Are you looking for somebody? There may be somebody out in the dry lab. Will dry lab work for you? Video, can you call somebody in dry lab? We don't have anything.
For a nav position?
There's nobody in there.
Try the phone.
That's all. Yeah, no. Copy. No, I think there's somebody down there, right? Nope. Not sure who that is.
Grab the phone, try staterooms.
Pilot, can we check out this fish upper left?
Yeah, upper left. Yeah, nav. Talk to the co-pilot for a second. Yeah, the one kind of staying still. Video come in. Oh, it's a shrimp.
The other upper left, but this is cool too.
Left?
No, this is a different shrimp than we've seen, so it's a nice stop.
All right.
Actually, is this... Scott, are you still on the line?
Pilots.
Are you familiar with this kind of shrimp?
Nav.
I am here, but I was trying to hide out from being asked.
Look at that guy.
Sure, leave me high and dry, like I know. Anyway,
So
what I can say for sure is we have not seen this today.
I cannot remember the name, and so I was actually doing a little search here.
Okay.
When you just asked me. But one of the things, so I'll describe some very general things. You're seeing that it's fairly robust. The carapace is kind of heavy, very spiny. The legs are pretty thick. All of that is telling me that it's a benthic shrimp and not like a midwater shrimp, for example.
Actually, yeah, that's
Krangon. That's what Bob Carney says, Krangonid shrimp, and that's what I had been searching. But I was searching the genus Krangon, and I didn't see.
Okay, yeah, so Krangonid shrimp.
More general.
Yeah, it's got some nice spines.